G'day team, Adam Cogan from SSW TV here, and let's do the SSW Tech News for August 2021. And we're not meeting in person, as you know. We've been pretty proud in Australia that we have had no cases for many months, but that all changed just a month or so ago with Delta. And we're not so proud anymore. We are under a serious lockdown. We have this rule that you can't leave more than 5 Ks from your home. You know, you're allowed to go and do exercise, but you must go with one other person only. So there's no groups of people, just individuals or a friend. And they're pretty hardcore about it. They're fining people $3,000, $5,000. In fact, some people down in Melbourne tried to have a little get together for an engagement party. I think there was about 70 of them. They all got a $5,000 fine. So that was like over $250,000 worth of fines just for that little party. And this is a picture here of Bondi Beach, and it is pretty much naked. No one's there. I live a few beaches down from there. Like, it was quite amazing. At 7 o'clock, you usually only hear the lifeguards use their big loud speakers if someone's swimming outside the flags or they've spotted a shark or something. Well, they were yelling out to swimmers that were swimming up and down the beach, saying, get out of your groups. You must be in groups of 2 only. So they're even policing the swimmers now. But yeah, it's a pretty hard lockdown. What is fascinating for me watching, I have my daughter who is doing the HSC. So you do 12 years of study, the final year of study. Big exams. You know how we used to have the odd exam that was open book. Now they're having the, I guess, now you're doing it at home. It's kind of, open internet, I guess, whatever. Of course the students wouldn't cheat, but you know what it's like. So my daughter, Ruby, got onto a Facebook group to just have a bit of a look and find out what are all the kids going to do. And she said, a lot of the kids were explaining how this is really hard, like the lockdown, how to, been locked down for 4 weeks, how do we do our biggest exam ever? And we've had no teacher time. And she said, then all the country girls, and the country kids got on and said, what are you city kids talking about? Try 12 years of this, it's really difficult. So it was fascinating listening to all the stories, and it's going to be interesting how things pan out. But anyway, on to some real tech news. TikTok overtook Facebook as the #1 most downloaded app in the world. So that's pretty amazing. I was in China a few years ago and TikTok was everywhere, and now it's gone all the way to the West and it's everywhere. So, the top ones now are TikTok, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, Messenger, and Snapchat #6. So that's where we are. TikTok is super popular with the youngsters. My girls really like it, although there's nothing useful on it. It's all garbage. Moving on to something useful, here is GitHub. And they have announced a new feature. This is how they announced the feature. This is pretty cool, so I'll just play it for you. And so we can see that you have a GitHub repo. You press dot and it'll open in the browser, and you're looking at it in VS Code, but a copy in the browser. So pretty nice. Now, obviously, I thought this was fascinating because Scott Hanselman then talked about the same feature, but in a better way, I think. So check this out.
Hey friends, here's an interesting tip if you're editing some code on GitHub. So I'm looking at my page on GitHub and I'm editing my website. I can hit the question mark button and it pops up keyboard shortcuts. Did you know that there's keyboard shortcuts for GitHub? That's not the cool thing. The cool thing is if I just press period, I'm just going to press dot on my keyboard. It's going to open this up in Visual Studio Code directly from GitHub. So take any GitHub repository and press dot.
That proved me wrong with the TikTok. There is something useful, but it is a fascinating way of presenting that feature. Really cool. So let's move on to Visual Studio 2019. Lots and lots of stuff in there. What is the coolest stuff in Visual Studio 2019? Well, in my opinion, this hot reload. So you know how when you're coding and you drop out to your breakpoint, well, you have to kind of stop the project, make a code change, recompile, rerun the thing. Now you can make a code change while the app is running. So while everything's running, and to get it to take it, you press this little guy here. It's a little flame icon. So that's how you basically continue from there. So that's pretty awesome that you can just apply your code changes and have it run. So that's fantastic. All right, next piece of news is Microsoft announced that they have a partnership with this Euclideon. They're an Aussie-based company. They're a geospatial data platform. And you know how we have kind of PaaS, platform as a service, and we have infrastructure as a service, IaaS, and software as a service. Now we have visualization as a service. And this is pretty phenomenal stuff. And the best way of understanding this is seeing an example. Let's jump into an example here. So here we have Denver. You might have a scenario where you are trying to sell that you're going to put a building somewhere, or maybe let's just assume a fun park, but you want to represent where that might be. So you put it, you show where you're going to put in the city. Maybe it's out there in the suburbs, maybe it's on a hill, something like that. So you might choose to do something like that. Now, the next thing I'd like to show you is this. You might recognize this. This is the rail lines. And here we have physical assets. So this is a virtualization of trains, and they're moving along. You will see that you can see where the trains are. You might even recognize this. This is an Australian city that has a river going through it. Have you recognized it yet? But this is Queensland Rail. So that's Brisbane, and they have used this. So I'll just pause it there. And this is a really good example of when you've got physical assets and then you're injecting them with data and they're moving along and you're seeing where they're going. So that's pretty fascinating. So there is another one here, and it's not just for those type of assets. So here is a physical ship, and this is a real ship. And you can explore, you can go through it all. Looks pretty nice, doesn't it? And so this is a visualization of that. Billions of data points in this. So I think that gives you a really nice idea of what you can do. Look right down to a millimeter resolution. And you can even look at stuff underground. So there is a mine that's underground. I think that's pretty amazing. You can see all this stuff. So that gives you lots of ideas. They say you can go down to just a couple of millimeters. So it's pretty impressive. And this also doesn't need a GPU. This type of stuff usually needs a GPU, but this runs only through your CPU. So this runs fine on mobile devices. So this is pretty amazing technology. And so we've got lots of different ideas. Now, where does this come from? Let's watch this digital twin to get a bit of an idea what this is all about. starts with really expensive industries such as SpaceX and NASA, and then it goes down to construction, medical, the car industry, and lots of things. So you take a physical asset and you make a digital asset. Now, this concept was invented by Michael Grieves, and I might just quickly show you something. This guy is from Florida, and he sent me an image coming up from his book. This book is called The Intelligent Digital Twins and the Development and Management of Complex Systems. And he basically talks about how you can do a whole lot of complex systems and how it's evolving. The digital twin platforms where they're constantly predicting the future. I kind of think of it a little bit like a Tesla Autopilot. It's taking in a whole lot of real life data as it's going along and making decisions where to go, etc. So it's all pretty fascinating stuff, I think. All right. So let's move on. And another big story during the month was Microsoft talked about how in Singapore, there's a whole lot of HoloLens 2 development with surgeons. And these surgeons there have a great story.
Our dictum is don't shift the brain at all. And the problem is then where's the tumor? If you can't shift, I can't see. Wearing the HoloLens permits me to see right through and get me through this location of the tumor without going down wrong pathways and wrong corridors.
You can move the brain in all 360 degrees of freedom. You can see whatever structure you want. You can slice it at the level you want. And I think that's just beautiful. That's something that our current technology doesn't allow us to do that in the hospitals.
It really gives them a total 3D view of what's going on before they have to operate. And obviously they like it because it's HoloLens and they don't have to physically touch anything when they're operating and stuff like that. So they can see a lot more, and they were just saying it's been incredible for them. So there's an example in healthcare, but it's a little different than the example before. Now, I want to talk about this OpenAI. Last month in the news, we talked about Copilot in GitHub. And there's been some more advances that we heard about. And this is the OpenAI. That's like a non-profit organization funded by Microsoft and some others. And they're offering an API for GitHub, and they're using the same type of model. So it is pretty good. I'll show you a couple of examples about it likewise. So here is one, and I might just pause it here, but you can pass in example questions for it to learn. So you could say, what is human life expectancy in the United States? And say, look, the answer we want you to give us is something like human life expectancy in the United States is 78 years. And then you can ask it a question using that pattern. You could say, what is the meaning of life? And it will scour the internet and give you back your answer and see what it does. And you can see here, it passes that in and it uses all these APIs and it gives you the answer. The meaning of life is 42. So essentially, it's only as intelligent as the APIs or the internet, and that's what it's telling you. Now, there is a great example here, and I really love this. I think this is worth running.
Our API combines a powerful pattern recognition system with semantic understanding of language. Let's make a spreadsheet with information on publicly traded technology companies. I'll supply the topic here. Now we can ask our API to generate some table headings. Company, ticker, market cap. Not bad. I'm actually interested in the year they were founded, not market cap. Now, let's ask it to fill in the table for us. Great, that looks good. The API is capable of understanding and integrating new information with its existing knowledge. Here, I've prepared a short article about a fictional future company called the AI Benefits Company. Let's start a new table entry and ask the API to complete it for us. The API pulled out the relevant data from the new article, namely the ticker and the founding year, and inserted it into our existing table.
That is using a natural language query. I think this is going to be enormous. It's going to be fantastic. Now, there's some other examples that they have here as well, and there's lots of it. But here is an example where somebody goes into Wikipedia and you look at bread. Bread has no mention on the entire Wikipedia about fluffy. That word doesn't exist. But you can ask a question like, why is bread fluffy? And it will then use the APIs and the internet and work out what fluffy might mean, and then go to the article and work out what in the article is probably the answer to why is bread fluffy. So I like this example because we have, a whole lot of rules. We've got thousands of rules, and you can only find a rule if you know the right words. So for example, if you wanted to know how to insert a grid into CRM, okay? Now, you will find no results for that on SSW rules because we don't use the term CRM for that. We use the Microsoft term, which is Dynamics 365. And we don't use grid, we'd use entity. And so it would be able to translate what you're meaning and still find the relevant rules. So I find that amazing. There's lots of cool stuff on this. I think you'll be blown away if you have a look at it. Text generation, what's this one? So you've given it some words. We are releasing an API for accessing the new AI models that were developed by OpenAI. Unlike most AI systems which are designed for one use case, the API today provides a general purpose text in, text out interface, allowing users to try it on virtually any English language task. You can now request access in order to integrate the API into your product, develop an entirely new application, or help us explore the strengths and limits of this technology. Great explanation of what it does. But what if you want more text? What if you want it to be longer? Okay? You can say, well, I want a bit more. And it will just make more words up that are intelligent, that are like that. My daughter would need this. I hope she doesn't use this for her HSC. If she needs an extra couple of pages, she could put in what she's done so far, use this, and she's got an extra page to type out. So pretty cool stuff. Now, moving along, this is a little bit of hardware news. I found this fascinating. But basically, the placement of pins is very important on chips. And Samsung said that they were using AI, they're using essentially artificial intelligence to work out where should we be putting all the chips. And they talk here how they got I think it was a 15% improvement on that by using that model. It was a 15% improvement. And then Google and NVIDIA also announced that they will be using something similar to get a performance improvement as well. So there we go. And along the same lines, I might just having a funny conversation with our guys in China. But China is using these influencers, but the influencers are virtual. They don't gain weight, they never age. They keep their computer-generated noses out of any controversy. They do lots of tweets on Weibo and different platforms, TikTok. But TikTok is not called TikTok in China. But here is one influencing Tesla over there, but she's not real. It's kind of crazy, but there's a funny article on this, so hilarious. Anyway, on to, let's talk about cryptocurrency. There was a huge event that happened. $600 million was stolen in crypto coins. There's a fair article, many articles about this, but the hacker or hackers stole it mostly from Ethereum, and they got some other money from some of the other ones. But $600 million is a good amount of money, hey? And then we got some new news on the same event, and he returned $260 million, okay? Was he feeling guilty? No, apparently not. He was just a nice guy. And he was saying how he got rid of all the, he wasn't very happy with everybody accusing him and detesting him and stuff. And he said he got rid of all the little ones, I believe. So, yeah, he was very worried about his image. And yeah, he said, look, I gave back all the little ones. In fact, he said he was still trying to do more. The perpetrator explained that he was taking his time returning the money because he needed to rest. And he also needed to negotiate with Poly Network, and he wanted to show, his dignity while concealing his identity or their identity. So, yes, very worried about his image and giving back the money to the little guys. Anyway, so I might finish it off with something I just found out that I thought was hilarious. During our big exams for school, we had to do things like study Macbeth and other Shakespeare things, and it was not much fun. English was not much fun. My daughter is studying The Castle. Do you remember this? You wouldn't think this was a literary piece, would you? But it is. It's a literary piece. And I don't know if you, like everybody, I know there's some Americans here, but this is a fun Aussie movie about a really homely family that loses their house. And they're losing their house because the airport is being expanded. And there's such a beautiful family full of values and also very innocent. And here is the movie, The Castle, and that's what she's been studying.
My name is Dale Kerrigan, and this is my story. Dad is the backbone of our family. He made our pool table.
This is my backyard.
Is that the runway there?
Sometimes you think they're going to land right on top of you. Well, I reckon we're the luckiest family in the world.
But one day in June, a knock at the door was to change all that.
This is a compulsory acquisition.
Our bloody government's trying to take my house.
You will be compensated.
You can't buy what I've got.
Miramax Home Entertainment presents.
I'm going to hit him with the big artillery.
It's justice, it's law, it's the vibe.
Vibe?
Yeah.
It's a very simple movie, and a lot of famous expressions came from it where something good happens, that'll go straight to the pool room. Or,
How's the serenity?
Oh, how's the serenity when it's ever peaceful? How's the serenity? Yeah, a lot of awesome things came out of that one. And I was asking my daughter, what would you write about this? Like, what do you say? And she read me a paragraph. She sent it to me, and it says this. This working class fulfillment is delineated in Darrell's defining use of language, saying, a man's home is his castle. The statement utilises dramatic irony, as the Kerrigan's ramshackle house is far from a castle. Satirical visual language is used in the establishing shot, which presents the Kerrigan street name, Highview. I never noticed that. Kerrigan street name, Highview, before panning to reveal that they are ironically at a ground level next to the airport. So that's what that simple movie sounds like when you do an English class.
He loved the serenity of the place.
How's the serenity?
I think he also just loved the word.
So much serenity.
Hopefully you enjoyed the news. Tell us what was cool and what was not. Put some comments down, and I will see you next month for the news again.